Let me just go live here on YouTube and officially get this party started. We are going to be discussing today all about everything you want to learn about the metabolism. So when we think about the metabolism, there's a lot of misconceptions. So first, we're going to identify why you might have a slow metabolism or a broken metabolism. And I'm going to get into these 5 ways to enhance the metabolism, burn more fat, create more energy, and essentially, welcome. My name is Ben Azadi. I'm the best-selling author of Keto Flex, and I'm the founder of Keto Camp. Thank you so much for joining me today. Every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, I go live with you, and I'm live with you today. So let's get right into the presentation. At the end here, I'm going to open it up to question and answer, so make sure you stay for that. This live session is going to be recorded and posted on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching somewhere else other than YouTube, head over to Keto Camp on YouTube. On YouTube, you could also see the presentation slides. But if you're watching on TikTok or Instagram, I'm going to explain the slides so that you could still understand it. So let's get right into this. Here's what you're going to learn today. Why the metabolism is not really running in speeds. It's about being efficient or inefficient. How to burn fat while you sleep, the importance of something called delta sleep. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to get more delta sleep so you burn more fat while you're sleeping. The role of ketosis on the mitochondria and your fat burning hormones. Very interesting research on that. And why intermittent fasting is the key to increasing your metabolic rate, meaning burning more calories just sitting on the couch. You're going to learn about that too. And the best and worst alcohol for your metabolism. We're going to talk about alcohol as well. So first, let's talk about the 4 warning signs that you might have a broken metabolism. The first warning sign is that, hey, you have maybe more than 20 pounds of extra weight to lose, and you kind of been stuck there. You might lose a few and gain it back, lose a few and gain it back. That's a sign that the metabolism is just not as efficient as you would like for it to be. That's a big warning sign right there. And we're going to talk about how to overcome that. Number 2 warning sign of a broken metabolism is you feel tired after eating. You overwhelm and stress your digestive system, and you eat a meal, and then an hour later, 2 hours later, you crash. It's a sign that you're working your metabolism too much, your digestive system too much. So we're going to talk about how to fix that. The third warning sign are skin tags. Skin tags, the number 1 cause of skin tags is a broken metabolism. It's a result of high insulin levels. And hey, if you want to burn fat, we want to drop insulin. So if you have skin tags, that is a clue that the metabolism is broken. You've had high levels of insulin for a very long time, and that results in skin tags. Now, the cool thing about skin tags is if you implement the tips I'm going to share with you today, I've seen with several of my Keto Camp Academy students, skin tags fall off. And that is super cool. So we'll talk about that. And the 4th warning sign of a broken metabolism is fluctuating energy levels throughout the day, especially if you skip a meal by accident and you crash, you get hypoglycemic. Dave Asprey calls it hypoglycemia, meaning you get hungry and angry. You are irritable. Your energy level is low. You can't focus. That is a sign of a broken metabolism. So if you have any of those 4 things going on, this video is for you. If, let's say, you said no to all those 4 things, hey, you could still get value from this video because we're going to talk about ways to enhance that metabolism. So without further ado, let's get into 5 ways to boost your metabolism. If you haven't done so already, let me know in the chat box where you're watching from. I see Zimbabwe. I see Littleton, Colorado. I see David in the UK. I see Coach Becky. I see Sally. And I see many others on TikTok. So the first way to improve the metabolism is with high intensity interval training called HIIT. And this is different than cardio. It's different than strength training. It can be, but the benefits of HIIT training is really, really interesting. And here's what it does when it comes to the metabolism. Here's a study on PubMed researching the effects of HIIE, which is high interval training. And it showed some really cool results. So I'm going to read this to you. It showed results in modest reductions in subcutaneous and abdominal fat in young, normal weight, and slightly overweight males and females. Studies using overweight male and female type 2 diabetic individuals have shown greater reductions in subcutaneous fat, which is the fat around your arms, but then also abdominal fat, which is that belly fat, love handle. So you get you get both effects there. The mechanisms underlying the fat reduction in high interval training are undermined by, but may include fat oxidation during and after exercise. So that means burning fat, burning your stored fat. And another benefit that we don't talk about is a suppressed appetite, meaning you're less hungry, less stress eating, less binge eating. Pretty cool. So regular HIIT training has been shown to significantly increase both aerobic, meaning with oxygen, and anaerobic fitness, meaning without, also significantly lowering insulin resistance, which is key to fixing your metabolism, and results in increased skeletal muscle capacity for fatty acid oxidation and glycolytic enzyme content. This simply means when you are consistently doing a high interval workout 3 or 4 times a week, let's call it, you are increasing your basal metabolic rate. You're less hungry, so it suppresses appetite, but you're building skeletal muscle mass, and that is important. Muscle has been called a longevity organ, but the significance of this is that typically when you have a broken metabolism, it's because high levels of glucose and insulin for many, many years. And with more muscle mass, think of your muscle mass as a sponge that is absorbing all the glucose in your bloodstream. And that's going to help lower glucose and insulin levels, which is going to help you tap into your fat stores. So if you're not in the practice right now of doing workouts that are HIIT training, meaning you get the heart rate up, you take a break. Get the heart rate up, take a break. It doesn't have to be an hour long. It could be as simple as 20 minutes of a HIIT training workout 3 to 4 times a week. I love a great format called Tabata. When I used to own my CrossFit gym, we implemented this with our members. Tabata is a format. It's a 4-minute workout, and you can do 3 or 4 of these during your workout. But essentially how it works is 20 seconds of a movement, all out effort, 10-second rest. And then 20 seconds of a different movement, all out effort, 10-second rest. The way I do it is I just grab my phone and put the timer, and let's say it's body weight squats. I'll do 20 seconds of as many body weight squats or jumping squats or weighted squats. It depends on your activity level, as many as possible for 20 seconds. And then I'll take a break for 10 seconds and catch my breath. And then I'll go into a different workout of different movement. Maybe it's push-ups for 20 seconds, as many as I can do. And then I take a break for 10 seconds. And then I go back to the squats, back to the push-ups, etc. So when it comes to workouts, it's all about getting that heart rate up, recovering, getting it up, recovering. This creates healthier mitochondria. It's called mitochondrial fitness. So this is not going to be a workout video per se, but focus on compound movements. My favorite include squats, push-ups, shoulder press, burpees, lunges, and I recommend you follow a gentleman named GC3 Fitness on YouTube. He's got a whole bunch of great workout videos. If you're watching on YouTube, I put his YouTube channels down below in the video description. So get those HIIT training, get the HIIT training in. The second way to boost your metabolism, and I see Tabata as a favorite for all of you here. The second way is intermittent fasting strategies with something called ETRF, which is early time restricted feeding. Let's unpack this real quick. So many people think I cannot practice fasting. If I skip a meal, I'm going to slow down my metabolism. I'm going to go into starvation mode. But the complete opposite is true. And here's what I want to explain to you. There's something in your body called counter-regulatory hormones. This is your sympathetic tone. The most important thing when it comes to fasting is to understand this. We are genetically hardwired to practice fasting. Yeah, intermittent fasting might be trending and it's a very popular Dr. Google search term, but here's the truth. There's nothing new about fasting. It's just nuanced or maybe new to some people, but fasting has been an ancient healing strategy that has been around for as long as humans have existed. Now, our ancestors, they were forced into fasting We actually get to do it voluntarily. And it's not the same thing as starvation. There's a big difference. But something happens during a fasted state, meaning let's say you're 12 or 14 or 16 hours into a fast. You've only had water, some coffee, some tea, some salt, but you haven't eaten a meal. Well, the old school wiring kicks in because here's what happens. These hormones called counter-regulatory hormones, they increase. They're called counter-regulatory hormones because they run counter to the hormone insulin. And out of the 600 plus hormones in your body, guess how many hormones cause your body to store energy and store fat? Only one, and that hormone is insulin. So many people go on Dr. Google and they type in the search term, how do I lose weight? When they should really be asking, how do I lower insulin? Fasting is one of the best ways to lower insulin. As insulin drops during a fast because glucose is dropping, which is very important for fixing a metabolism, these other hormones run counter to them and increase. These are fat-burning hormones called glucagon, human growth hormone, noradrenaline, and there's also cortisol, but not cortisol in a dangerous way, cortisol in a nice way where you get some good energy levels. But think about it from a survival standpoint, because the number one priority for the human body is survival. The innate intelligence wants to survive. So when you're in a fast, the old school wiring kicks in and the innate intelligence thinks, whoa, it must be a famine. It doesn't care or understand or know about Uber Eats or DoorDash. It doesn't understand that. You could go on your phone and click a few buttons and have a millennial knock on your door in 45 minutes with some food. It doesn't get that. You could walk to your pantry and eat food. It automatically goes into this process. So the body literally pumps you full of energy and resources so you could be energized, alert, so you could go out there into the wilderness and hunt and kill in order to stay alive. All of this is happening during a fast, but here's the cool hack. You're just going to go about your day and have amazing energy levels. I'm fasted right now, but there's something else that occurs. These counter-regulatory hormones actually increase your basal metabolic rate, meaning you're burning more calories. So there's a study that came out that showed exactly what happened after 4 consecutive days of fasting. Most people think I will actually slow down my metabolism after 4 days of fasting. But this study that I'm showing you here on the screen showed the complete opposite. Studies on fasting show that basal metabolism doesn't shut down during fasting, it revs itself up. 4 consecutive days of fasting increased the basal metabolism by 13%. And that's because of this counter-regulatory process. So if you're not practicing fasting and your metabolism is broken, you want to implement some intermittent fasting. There's so many ways to do it. I have a whole bunch of videos on my YouTube channel, but I'm going to share why I like an 18-6 schedule. This is a daily schedule, and 18-6 means 18 hours out of a 24-hour period, you're in that fasted state. You're getting the reduction in glucose and insulin. You're getting the increase in counter-regulatory hormones. You're allowing your body to tap into its body fat. That's an 18-hour period. Then you have a 6-hour eating window where you have 1, 2, or 3 meals within that window focused on protein and fat. And we'll talk about that with the ketosis tip. And that would be a good daily protocol that most people can do on a consistent basis. I would also recommend throwing in a 24-hour water fast 1 to 2 times per week, where you simply go dinner to dinner, or lunch to lunch, or even better, breakfast to breakfast once or twice per week to get more of those counter-regulatory hormones, to get more of a process called autophagy, where your body's recycling damaged cells, and then more of a reduction in glucose and insulin so you could really tap into those fat stores. There's also something called early time-restricted feeding. So this is a bonus tip here, which is still part of bonus or the tip number 2 here, but research has demonstrated that it's better to have most of your calories earlier in the day versus later in the day. Meaning, if you're doing intermittent fasting, but your eating window is later in the day, you're having lunch and dinner, you might get more benefits having breakfast and lunch. I know that's not I don't like that because personally, I like to skip breakfast. But there was a study from Dr. Courtney Peterson, and I interviewed Steve Hendricks where we talked about his book called The Oldest Cure in the World, all about fasting. And Dr. Courtney Peterson, she is a researcher from the University of Alabama. She did some interesting studies, and there's a lot of studies out there. Dr. Sachin Panda has some good studies, but this one study was very controlled. It was controlled very well, I should say. And what she did, Dr. Courtney Peterson, she took two groups. Both groups performed an 18-6 fasting schedule. So they had a 6-hour eating window. One group, though, ate in the morning and in the early afternoon. So they had about an 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. eating window and then fasted outside of that. The other group had a different window where they skipped breakfast and ate their meals later on in the day. I think they had a 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. window. Calories were the same. Everything was the same. All the variables were the same. The only change in these two groups, that one group ate earlier, one group ate later, but both practiced intermittent fasting. The group that ate earlier in the day had 22% more autophagy after 4 days. Autophagy is where your cells are cleaning out the junk, which is very important. And then also they had 10% more of the sirtuin-1 gene, the SIRT1 gene, which is a longevity anti-aging gene, just by eating earlier in the day. I would say this. I know this schedule is kind of hard for a lot of people, but the more time you can give yourself in a fasted state before bed, the better. A good rule of thumb is at least 3 hours of fasting before bed, but I would say if you could extend that to 5 hours of at least fasting before bed, even better. Second bonus tip here is before you break your fast, which is essentially what breakfast is, you break your fast, complete a fasted cardio workout. This is different than the HIIT training. It's not necessarily a HIIT workout. It could just be a long walk or a slow jog, but you do that in a fasted state. Let's say if you're breaking your fast at 8 a.m., maybe at 7 a.m., before you break the fast, you go for like a 30 to 45-minute walk or jog or run on an empty stomach. What's going to happen is you're putting your fat stores at the front of this metabolic bus to be burned for fuel first, versus eating a meal and then going into that cardio workout. You're putting the calories from that meal at the front of the metabolic bus to be burned first over your body fat. So go in, get a fasted cardio workout before you break your fast, and watch what that will do to help your body blast fat. The third tip is get 2 hours of delta sleep every single night. I'll explain that, and I'll explain how to get that. But delta sleep is also called stage 4 sleep, also called deep sleep. There's 4 different sleep cycles that occur when you're asleep, and this is the most important one as it relates to fat loss. During this time, you have hormones like T3, insulin-like growth factor 1, IGF-1, human growth hormone, glucagon, and testosterone that are very active. This is where your body is burning a lot of fat. And the average we want to aim for is about 2 hours to get a lot of these fat-burning hormones doing their job so you wake up feeling lean and looking lean. Studies show poor sleep disrupts your metabolism. It creates a broken metabolism. Here's a study on PubMed that showed sleep curtailment decreased the fraction of weight loss as fat by 55% and increased the loss of fat-free body mass by 60%. This was accompanied by markers of enhanced neuroendocrine adaptation to caloric restriction, increased hunger, and a shift in relative substrate utilization towards oxidation of less fat. So the study is showing that when you're not getting enough deep sleep, you're burning less fat and you're hungrier the next day. Not good. So we want to build a strong health foundation by mastering sleep, which will actually also help you master your stress levels, which is very important. One poor night of sleep will result in higher levels of cortisol the next day, which follows glucose and insulin follow, and it activates the hunger hormone ghrelin, and it depletes the satiety fat-burning hormone leptin. I just mentioned that most of your fat burning takes place during stage 4 delta sleep, so you want to get about 2 hours of that. And then the third thing to consider here is stress. When you're living in fear, it will deplete your willpower reserves. It'll create high levels of cortisol. It'll cause you to burn to store fat, excuse me. So here are 3 ways to get more delta sleep, deep fat burning sleep tonight. Number 1, have a nighttime routine. This is called sleep hygiene, where your body, your circadian rhythm, right, Becky, has these clues that it knows you're getting ready for bed. So for me, that means putting on blue light blocking glasses at night. That means staying away from anything that's going to get my heart rate up. That means watching the sunset get through my eyes. These are all important cues to my body to let it know I'm getting ready for sleep. You might have a routine where you drink some bedtime tea or take some magnesium at night, but have a normal routine where you're going to bed at the same time. You want to really get that circadian rhythm in sync. And then set your thermostat. Studies show in order to get the most deep sleep, it needs to be a cold and dark bedroom. A study suggests around 65 degrees Fahrenheit is the sweet spot for good, deep delta sleep. And then make that bedroom as dark as possible. Either wear blackout curtain or have blackout curtains or wear a sleep mask. Either works. You could also experiment with taking a warm to hot shower about an hour before bed. Seen that help some people. It could also be a cold shower, by the way. Sometimes both will work. But you get out of the shower and then you go into that cold bedroom, and your body's going to cool itself down. Your body temperature needs to drop in order to fall asleep and get high quality delta sleep. And then third tip is to drink banana tea. This is really a tip for those whose mind is racing at night. I'm one of those people where I have ideas, I have problems, I have things that I'm thinking about. So I do 2 things here. I do something called a mental dump. It's not as bad as it sounds, where whatever racing thoughts I have, whatever racing thoughts you have, I grab a piece of paper and I just write it down. I take it from the brain to a piece of paper. It separates it from just being stuck in your head. And the second thing I do is I drink banana tea or take high quality magnesium. So banana tea is keto friendly, doesn't break a fast. It is simply getting a whole banana, leaving the peel on, and then cutting the ends off that banana. But the peel you leave on because the peel has more of these micronutrients like potassium and magnesium and others that help you feel calm and relaxed. It has more than the actual banana itself. So you boil it with water until it turns brown, about 4 minutes or so, and then pour that banana tea into a cup. Drink it. It's like nature's NyQuil. It helps you feel relaxed, especially if you're somebody who has their mind racing at night. I recommend this book from my friend Devin Burke if you want to learn more about sleep. It's called The Sleep Advantage. I did write a book about sleep, but I pulled it off the shelf, so you can't get my book. But Devin's book is great, and it's called The Sleep Advantage. I dropped a link for those watching on YouTube. If you're not tracking your sleep, track it. There's so many great devices out there. I have an Oura Ring, this right here, which is a sleep tracker. It also tracks something called heart rate variability, which is very important to track. Tracks calories burned, steps, etc. It's a fantastic device. I also like the Whoop Band. The Fitbit and the Apple Watch will give you some data. It's just not going to be as accurate as something like an Oura Ring. So in the description of this YouTube video, there's a link to get the Oura Ring with $40 off if you want to check that out. But track, don't guess, test, track. Very, very important. The fourth tip for fixing a broken metabolism and boosting your metabolism is keto first and then keto flexing. Why do I love keto? Well, we think about keto. How many of you watching this right now are following a ketogenic lifestyle? Type in keto if you're doing keto right now. The truth is that keto, there's a lot of misconceptions with keto. It's not a diet. Keto is a metabolic process. There's nothing new about keto, just like fasting. It's been around for as long as humans have existed. Every single one of our ancestors did keto. Facts. They had to, because when they fasted, they had to produce ketones. Hey, Vic is in ketosis. I love that. Deanna, BFB, I love that. Joyce is in keto. Lynn's in keto. Dawn's in keto. I see Liz, Elizabeth, you're in keto. Becky, Carla, awesome. But keto is not a diet. It's a metabolic process. And when we think about ketones, it's high octane brain fuel. Here's a quote from Henderson in 2008. Henderson said, throughout much of human evolution, ketosis likely served as a valuable survival mechanism to fuel brain metabolism during times of food scarcity. Hence, the modern diet can be considered keto deficient. And there was it's pretty much our birthright to burn fat. Burning fat is our primal birthright. You want to fix a broken metabolism, you want to get fat adapted. That is the goal. Burn fat instead of sugar. Babies that are born into this world and are breastfed are in ketosis. Those are 3 PubMed studies that show that. Breast milk has saturated fat and cholesterol, which gets that baby into ketosis. But Ben, there's also sugar in breast milk. You're right, but that baby is so efficient at utilizing that sugar, it goes in and out of ketosis. The question is why? The answer is because it helps the neurological development of that baby's brain. The brain is mostly fat. It loves fat. It loves ketones. It is our primal birthright to burn fat. There was a study that showed that 12% of American adults are metabolically broken, metabolically unhealthy. This is in 2018. It was a 10-year study from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. That means 88%. Oh, I said it wrong. Sorry. 12% of American adults are healthy. 88% of American adults are metabolically unhealthy, metabolically broken. So excuse the mishap there. This study showed 88% of Americans are unhealthy. This was before COVID. Do you think it got better or worse after COVID? Of course it got worse. So I'm going to rewrite this title and say 88% plus of American adults are in a keto deficiency. You want to fix the metabolism? Ketosis combined with fasting is a powerful way to do that. Let me explain why. It's all about the mitochondria. The mitochondria are these energy factories in your cells that produce energy. The more energy it produces, the more calories you burn, but the more energy you have. And when a cell has unhealthy mitochondria, it produces less energy and more free radicals, more inflammation. Not good. And it's estimated by the age 70, the average person has lost 70% of their mitochondrial function. So how does keto help with that? Well, which car on the screen is going to get you farther? That banged up car, old ugly car, we'll call glucose, or that badass car on the right there, looking so beautiful, we'll call ketones. Well, when we think about the electron transport chain, which is how your cells produce energy, how your mitochondria produce energy, we could compare both burning sugar versus burning fat, or said a different way, burning glucose versus burning ketones. A molecule of glucose will produce about 32 to 36 ATP molecules. Those are units of energy. Compare that to a molecule of ketones. It will produce 120 to 160 ATP units. That is a 400% increase in energy production because ketones signal to your mitochondria. It kind of stresses them to produce more mitochondria. This is called mitogenesis. And with the production of more mitochondria, with the production of more ATP, it raises your basal metabolic rate, meaning you burn more calories without having to track those calories. Now, ketosis helps you fix a broken metabolism and lose weight in many, many ways, but we don't do keto for weight loss. We do it for health. So when you're in ketosis, you lower glucose and insulin, important for burning fat. You also get the mitogenesis, which raises your basal metabolic rate, which most people don't talk about, which also helps you burn more fat when you're just sitting on the couch. Super cool. But now that we talked about the benefits of keto, this might be controversial. Let's talk about why we don't do long-term ketosis and why maybe your problem might be that you've been in ketosis for too long. And that might be the reason why your weight loss has slowed down, and how to practice something I call keto flexing. So the first reason why we don't teach long-term ketosis is that you actually could lose less, your fat burning will slow down. Let me explain this with an analogy. Remember when I said at the beginning, the number one priority for the body is survival. So if you're only burning fat for a long period of time, 6 months or so, you've only been teaching your body to use one energy source, one fuel source, which is fat. So that's like, okay, you live in Canada or you live in Alaska and you live in a cabin and it's the summer. The temperature is amazing. There's no need to start fires and warm up the cabin. The weather is perfect. You don't have to worry about that. But in the fall and in the winter, it's going to be brutally cold and you're going to need firewood to heat up that cabin. But winter rolls around and now you only have about 20 logs of firewood that you've stored, but you have several months of really cold temperatures. What are you going to do? You're going to burn that firewood as slowly as possible to preserve your precious fuel supply. That's similar to what happens when you're in ketosis for too long. Your body goes into the survival mode and it actually slows down fat oxidation, fat burning. And it does this two ways. It sends water into your cells, which creates dimply fat, and then it blunts the receptor sites for insulin, creating a different sort of insulin resistance problem. But with the keto flex day, and I'm going to explain what that means. It's like your buddy coming over and saying, "Oh, Henry, no worries. You only have 20 logs of firewood. I have thousands. Here are 200 logs. You could borrow them. You could keep them." Now you have 220 logs of firewood. What are you going to do? You're going to ramp up the burning. You're not going to be as scarce with burning the firewood. You have so much. You're going to remind yourself that you have an excess fuel supply. Go ahead and burn it. Keto flex day is similar. It reminds the body it's not starving. It signals to your innate intelligence that times are good, and it ramps up the fat burning. And it sounds counterintuitive, but it works really, really well. We've seen it with many of our Keto Camp Academy students. The second problem here is thyroid can slow down with long-term ketosis. When you think about the thyroid, there's a lot of moving parts. You have the brain, the hypothalamus pituitary, which signals to your thyroid gland to produce thyroid hormone. That's called thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH. So when you're testing TSH, it's really looking at the communication process of the brain and the thyroid, not so much the health of your thyroid alone. So once it stimulates the thyroid to produce that thyroid hormone, it's producing the thyroid hormone called T4. Now, T4 is not active. It's the inactive version of thyroid hormone. It cannot be used by your cells. It cannot help your cells burn energy and burn fat. It needs to be converted to the active form of thyroid called T3. T3 is a very important thyroid hormone. It's so important that every single cell has receptor sites for T3. That should tell you something. That speaks volumes, right? So we want good levels of T3 because that's going to get into your cells, tell your mitochondria to produce energy and help you burn fat. T3 is where it's at. The question is then, what helps make that conversion from T4 inactive thyroid to T3 active thyroid? The gut, the kidneys, but also insulin. But Ben, you said insulin causes your body to store fat and insulin is bad. Well, high levels of insulin are bad, but insulin is not bad in itself. It's really important for these hormonal conversions. So when you're in ketosis for a very long time, or if you're doing a lot of fasting, you're going to have chronically low levels of insulin, and that's not good. That conversion from T4 to T3 doesn't happen as effectively, and then thyroid issues occur where you're cold all the time, your metabolism slows down, you're losing the outer layer of your eyebrows, your hair is falling off. These are all signs to pay attention to, but a keto flex day makes those conversions happen. The other thing we want to pay attention to, the other problem with long-term ketosis is higher levels of SHBG. SHBG is sex hormone binding globulin. The more you have of that, the less testosterone you have. Not good for men and women. It acts as a sponge to absorb your testosterone, which is not good because testosterone is a very important muscle building and fat burning hormone. And the more SHBG you have, the less available free testosterone. And I've seen this increase with long-term ketosis. So the solution is keto flexing. The way we teach it inside of the Keto Camp Academy is we'll get you in ketosis, strict ketosis, get you fat adapted and keto adapted, which takes about 90 days. And then we implement keto flexing. And we have different protocols, but the 5-1-1 rule is a great protocol for those who think they might be doing too much keto, those who think they have a thyroid condition. So let me explain how this works. The 5-1-1 rule is a 7-day protocol. And the 5 is 5 days of an 18-6 intermittent fasting schedule. I already explained how that works earlier. And you're eating keto-friendly meals within that eating window. That's the 5 days. The first one in the 5-1-1 rule is a 24-hour water fast. And I already explained how to do that as well, where you just go dinner to dinner or lunch to lunch or breakfast to breakfast. Now, the final one here is your keto flex day. So I see a lot of questions. What is a keto flex day? What do I eat? A keto flex day is a feast day. It's not a cheat day. Different vocabulary I'm using here intentionally. It's a feast day. That's your buddy coming over, remember, with all that firewood to ramp up the burning, ramp up the fat burning. So it's a day where you do not practice fasting. You have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're going to take your total carbohydrates over 100 grams for that day. You're also going to increase your protein, and you're going to lower your fat. And this is going to be a day that's very important for those hormonal conversions. So that's just an example there of how to do keto flexing. And I'm going to be doing a masterclass actually next week. It's a live training. I'm going to lead it live, where I'm going to dive deeper into keto flexing. I'm going to dive deeper into keto. I'm going to teach you all about flexing in and out, the difference between dirty keto and clean keto. We'll talk a little bit about fasting. And this is a free training, and you could join. You could register for it. It's going to take place next week. Hey, Kim, good to see you. And that's ketosismasterclass.com if you want to join me. We're going to be giving away some meal plans and grocery shopping guides. I'm going to give you a list of Keto Flex approved carbohydrates, all for free. It's completely free, so leave your wallet at home. There's no charge for this. It's ketosismasterclass.com. If you're watching on YouTube, I dropped the link in the notes of this live stream video. The fifth tip, replace alcohol with tea. Look, if you want to fix your metabolism, alcohol should not be a part of that. It's and let me explain why. Alcohol is a poison to your body. Even the highest quality of wine still is a toxin, and your liver has to detoxify it. And if you want your body to burn fat, you don't want to overwhelm your liver. The liver is very important. The worst offenders out there when it comes to alcohol are beer and wine. And according to Dr. Zach Bush, the average California wine has 64 herbicides and pesticides in it. You want to talk about inflammation and leaky gut? Not good. So Maria Emmerich, she said, here's a quote from her. Alcohol stimulates appetite and decreases your testosterone levels for up to 24 hours and increases estrogen by 300%. The infamous beer belly is really just an estrogen belly. Biochemically, the higher level of estrogen, the more readily you absorb alcohol, but the slower you break it down. So remove alcohol for 28 days and watch what it'll do for you. Look, I haven't had a sip of alcohol in over 7 years. It's been such a game changer for me. But let's say you're going to have alcohol. What you don't want to have is the average wine or beer. Stay away from that. If you do choose to have alcohol, hey, you're an adult. You can make your own decisions. Stick with clear alcohols like whiskey and tequila. But Ben, tequila is not clear. It is before it goes into the barrel, which makes it turn a different color. If you're going to drink wine, there is a great keto-friendly organic, what's called biodynamic wine from Dry Farm Wines. I've interviewed them. It's a great option for those who choose to drink. Again, I don't recommend drinking, but if you are going to drink, this is a great option for you. It's called Dry Farm Wines, and you can get their wine over at ketocampwine.com. They actually deliver it to you, and it's low in sugar. It's free of the pesticides we spoke about. It's a clean wine. So that's a good option. ketocampwine.com. Camp is spelled with a K, ketocampwine.com. And I put that down below. So those are the tips. Join us for the masterclass. I'm going to open it up now to question and answer. And I hope this is valuable, by the way. So let me know what questions you have for me. I'm going to spend some time answering some questions, and I hope to see many of you later next week on the Ketosis Masterclass. It's going to be fun. I see Cleveland, Ohio here. Good to see you. I see Becky Cortez. Good to see you. Carlos, good to see you, brother. Organic wine is better, and European wine is also better than American wine. Joey Carnivore, thank you, bro. I appreciate you. Michaela says, I love this information. Thanks, Michaela. Monica from the Bahamas, good to see you. Jack Edwards, good to see you. Lisa Oaks, good to see you. Sally Harrison, good to see you as well. I love it. So valuable, says Jennifer. And it says, oh my goodness. Hello, Ben and team. Lost track of time this morning listening to all the documentary on the Blue Zone. No worries. You joined us now. Elena, good to see you. I'm also a Floridian. I'm here in Miami Beach, Florida. Amanda, good to see you as well. Do you recommend intermittent fasting? Yes, that was my tip number 2, Kath. So I got into the benefits of that. So if you missed that part, the replay will be on my YouTube channel, which is Keto Camp on YouTube. I dove deep into fasting. Do you do private consults? I do 60-minute consults. If you go to benazadi.com, you could book that. Kimberly, good to see you. So grateful for you. Been so grateful for your program. Thank you for sharing these life-saving skills with us. I appreciate you. God bless you and your business. Thank you, Kimberly. God bless you too. I appreciate you. Do vitamins break a fast? They do not, but I would recommend if you're going to have fat-soluble vitamins, Jim, good to see you, Jim, have your fat-soluble vitamins with your meals. Not because it breaks a fast, but fat-soluble vitamins like vitamins A, D, E, and K, you need fat to increase the absorbability of those fat-soluble vitamins. So you want to take that with the meal. But no, they don't break a fast. When is the right time to do a HIIT workout? I say whatever's best for your schedule. Just don't do it before bed. You don't want to get the heart rate up before bed. So anytime that's better for your schedule. Can you tell me a little bit about vitamin G? I can. Vitamin G is the most powerful supplement in the world. It does not break a fast. It is going to help you with fat loss. It's going to be anti-inflammatory. It just puts your body in this healing state once you take it. So vitamin G, I don't have a link for vitamin G because vitamin G is the practice of gratitude. You might think, oh, that's so silly. No, this is the most important biohack you could ever come across. It's free. You can't overdose on it. Like, get a steady practice and a steady dose of vitamin G. It's so powerful. My thoughts on turmeric and ginger shots. That will break a fast. So have it right before your meals. It actually can help break down fat, Reno. So I am not, I'm with it. I'm a fan of them. Do you have any post-vacation recovery plan? Buzzy, good to see you. Just forget about any setbacks and focus on the get back. Just follow, pick up where you left off and get right back into ketosis, get right back onto your fasting schedule. A lot of times people dwell on all the things they had on vacation or whatever mishap they had, but it's all just learning opportunities. Everything is on the way. Nothing is ever in the way. Just learn from that and continue back on course. Because Buzzy, you've done some great things for your health over the years. So just don't put any energy into, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have eaten that. What's done is done. Focus on the get back. Don't worry about that setback. People tend to turn speed bumps into stop signs, and we don't want to do that. It's just a speed bump. It's all part of the process. Seed biotics are fine. I would rotate them. I would go on and off of them. Marianne, join the masterclass. I love it. How would a flex day be different from postmenopausal women? In the academy, we have an entire section all about that. And in chapter 12 of my book, Keto Flex, I have an entire section on postmenopausal women versus flexing women. There's a lot of differences there, and I don't have time to get into all of that. But we do like the 5-1-1 rule for postmenopausal women, and then we teach it differently for women who have a menstrual cycle. L-carnitine safe to take every day. I read that if you don't work out after you take it, it doesn't work. Please clarify. L-carnitine, I wouldn't take it every day. I don't like taking any supplement every single day. So I would go through a bottle and then take a month off or so. It's still going to be effective even if you're not working out, because what L-carnitine can do, it just helps shuttle fat to your mitochondria to help it burn more fat for energy. So I wouldn't say it doesn't work if you don't work out. Thank you, Michaela. Does MCT and coffee break a fast? The answer is maybe. You have to check your glucose before and after to know for sure. That's different for everybody. So you check your blood glucose before you have your coffee with MCT oil. And then 45 minutes later, if you see it increase 5 points or higher 3 days in a row on average, then it's breaking the fast. If you don't see that, you're fine. And it's different for everybody. Keto, Coach Vic. Thank you, brother. Any thoughts on astaxanthin supplements? I am a big fan of astaxanthin supplements. However, make sure it does not have vegetable oils in it. Sometimes they do. So I would like a coconut oil based, and make sure it's from algae, not from fish oil. Astaxanthin is like internal sunscreen. It prevents sun burning and sun damage. So when I have a day, or I'm going to play because I play basketball every Sunday outside here in Miami for 3 hours where the sun is beaming on me, I'll take astaxanthin. It prevents me from getting burned. So I'm a big fan of it. Love it. Vitamin G. I love that you love vitamin G. Apple cider vinegar and lemon juice. Will this break a fast? Lemon juice will. Apple cider vinegar will not. So have a lemon juice before a meal. That's probably better. Sea moss is a great way to get in some minerals. It just makes sure it's from a quality brand. Olena. Are you okay with cod liver oil? No, I'm not a fan of cod liver oil or fish oil. I wouldn't recommend it. I recommend Pure Form instead. It's a plant-based omega. You could get that over at ketocampsupplements.com. Not a fan of krill oil. Now, krill oil arguably is better than regular fish oil because it does have astaxanthin, so it protects it a little bit more, but it still has other issues. So I don't recommend or take krill oil. If you're going to take it, short term is better than long term. Banana tea does not break a fast. Miguel, you're good to go. Nancy, I'm not familiar with ProCaps or Andrew Lessman, so I cannot say. I don't know what that is. Kettle and Fire, or Heart and Soul, sorry. Heart and Soul Fire Starter, organ, taking Heart and Soil, got it. Fire Starter and beef organ capsules. What are your thoughts on these for keto? Julie, those are great. I'm a fan of them. I've used them as well. Thank you, Alina, for putting the links. You're awesome. Lemon water breaks a fast because it has a little bit of some sugar and some carbs. Now, it depends on how much lemon you're actually having. Like the purists will say it breaks a fast, but for some people, it could be so minimal. If it's just a couple of squeezes of lemon juice, it should be fine. But if you're having a whole bunch of lemon juice, like you're pouring it in, then potentially it will probably break a fast. But the best way to know is to test your glucose before and 45 minutes after. That's how you know if something breaks a fast. Even if you've noticed there's no change in glucose, if you really want to maximize a fast, the purists are right. Like water and some sea salt, you're going to get the most benefits because you're not pushing your innate intelligence any direction. Thank you, Nancy. Vitamin G for you. How many of you are signed up for the Keto Masterclass next week? It's going to be a brand new masterclass. It's going to be a lot of fun. ketosismasterclass.com if you want to join us. Mike, how do exogenous ketones help or don't they? There's a time and place for exogenous ketones. It's a great way to get some ketones into your brain. It's a great neuro hack or nootropic hack. It also could be great for radiation exposure. So just make sure it's from a quality brand. We like Kinetic and HVMN, but don't rely on it. You got to do the work. Get your body producing ketones, not just taking it exogenously. What are the top 3 biggest tips for someone beginning keto? All right, let's ramble this off. Hey, Jess, let's ramble this off. Top 3 tips for somebody doing keto. Number 1, understand that it is not a diet. It's a lifestyle. It's a metabolic process. Number 2, stay away from inflammatory fats, the vegetable oils. And number 3, don't do it forever. There's a time where you want to flex out. Those would be my 3 tips. Buzzy's in for the masterclass next week. I love it, Buzzy. Does it take 18 hours for autophagy to begin? The answer is I'm not sure. There's not really concrete research. Somebody who's metabolically healthy and flexible might get autophagy 16 or 4 hours into a fast. Somebody else might be 18 or 20 hours. It depends. But I would guess that 16 hours is a good benchmark for autophagy to start turning on. And it's just starting to turn on. So that 24-hour water fast that I recommend, it could be great for more autophagy. Does incline cardio, uphill cardio count as HIIT training? Yep. If it gets that heart rate up, Miguel, it sure does. Olive oil is awesome. Michaela, that probably does increase your ketone production. How often do you recommend in Keto Flex? Is it one day at a time? That's where coaching is very important, Susie. We coach our Keto Camp Academy students on that. So I'm giving you some general rules, but I would need to know more of like your health history, your goals, where you're at with labs, if you have that. But yeah, once a week is a good general idea. Women who have a menstrual cycle do it a little bit more often than women who don't. And then men could do it less often, keto flexing, than women, because men have more of a 24-hour recycling pattern for their hormones. I've been on keto for 62 days. I'm down 50 pounds. Let's go, Bane. You said not forever. How long should I remain on it? Good job, by the way. I would say at the 90-day mark, get some labs done and let's see where you're at. If you don't have any insulin resistance, your glucose, your A1C, your fasting insulin look good, 90 days could be a good mark to start flexing. Susie's attending the masterclass. I love it. All right, my friends, I hope I was able to answer as many questions as possible. I hope the 5 tips resonated with you. Share the video with a friend. If you're watching somewhere else other than YouTube, you could watch the replay on YouTube and see the presentation slides if you go to youtube.com/ketocamp, and then go get subscribed to the Keto Camp podcast. We release a brand new podcast every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and sometimes even on Saturdays. So I hope that you could subscribe to that. Every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, I go live with you like I am today. We're wrapping this up, but I'll be with you next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. And I appreciate you joining me today. Vitamin G for you all. See y'all soon.